G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. And I'm just on a ferry here, heading out of Nelson Bay Harbour, and I'm going all the way across to Tea Gardens. As you can see, it's a very, very dark sort of day. It's been storming all night, but I thought I'd take this opportunity, given that I'm up here for the weekend, to make the most of the services that we've got available. And believe it or not, I'm the only person on this ferry, so it's going to be a very, very special cruise across the harbour, and hopefully we can come across a couple of dolphins along the way as well. As I said, it's been raining all night. It's winter. It's not all that cold, which is good. But what we'll do is we'll clock up another Jim's 5am Club and see where it leads us. And what I want to do today is write or talk to you about a book summary entitled Accidental Genius by Mark Levy. And it's a book which has a couple of really, really nice lessons, and something that I think would be very useful to young children, because it's all about creative writing, about learning how to, express yourself on paper and to make the most of the opportunities that come through creative writing. Because the author here says and makes a very, very good point that the act of writing stimulates thought. So when you cannot think of anything to write, start with writing anything. So I remember years ago, and I've said this on another 5am Club, a young girl that my daughter was at school with. Her name is Hannah Kimber. And we're talking about when she was in third class, so 10 years old, 11 years of age. Hannah would say that her parents would encourage her to write creatively, and every evening they would just put down a blank piece of paper in front of her and just get her to write about anything, just to write freely about her thoughts, her fears, her hopes, her ambitions, anything. Just to write, and to write freely, to help and to enable her to build her creative thinking and writing skills. Hannah became a very, very good student at school and ended up becoming a lawyer, following in the footsteps of her wonderful parents, her father Max, who was a barrister, and her beautiful mother, who's a magistrate. So you can imagine Hannah got off to a very, very good start with learning the skills of how to think freely, how to write freely, and how to think on her feet. And it all became possible because of these early lessons in writing, creative writing, that her parents were able to help her with. So the author's first formal point to come out of this book is where they say, or Mark says, that the first free writing session should follow 3 rules. So it's all about starting with a stream of consciousness, but you need to be relaxed, have no pressure, have a 90% mindset, and just write. Just write whatever comes into your head, and as I said, to have a 90% mindset. Don't be a perfectionist. Don't try and do things perfectly, but just try to get words on paper. And some of the other skills, some of the other important things to consider are to write quickly, don't stop, don't question your statements, focus on quantity rather than quality, because this is all about freeing up your mind and getting your unconscious bubbling to your conscious level, and just learning how to be free and easy with your skills. And what the author also says is you need a time limit. So you need to limit your time to about half an hour, but you can start at 5 minutes, increase it to 10 minutes, and as you become more proficient and better at it, then you can learn to do more with those skills that you've built up. The other thing that the author talks about in this book summary is the importance of learning how to lie all you want in your free writing. So it doesn't have to be factual. What you can do is the whole goal of this thing is to stimulate your creativity, stimulate your imagination. And what you can do is you can role play, you can lie, you can have fun, because it's a exercise in creativity. It doesn't have to be real, doesn't have to be justifiable, it just has to be what it is. So in many ways you are invited to abandon reality, remembering that lying and fantasy adds to your creative process. So feel free to be somebody else, feel free to make up stuff as you go, because a lot of the things that I do in my 5 a.m. club is a sense of fantasy, where I'm reliving a fantasy and just making things up as I'm going, supplementing and complementing, of course, the notes that I've got. But the author here says that it's important and useful to learn the art of exaggeration and flipping. So exaggeration is where we embellish things, we make them more colourful, more interesting, more powerful. And flipping is where we juxtapose things and make them different from what they could possibly be. But it's up to us, being the author of your creative writing exercise, being the author of your 5 a.m. club, you have the poetic license to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, for as long as you want. So take it on board, use your imagination, and some of the things that you may want to consider doing is writing a letter to yourself, writing a letter to your past self, your future self, your sexy self, your sad self, etc. Just come up with ideas and just run with them. Just invent characters and write and converse with them in an unrestricted form. So this is something which is powerful, especially for children to learn that they have the power to use their imagination to do whatever they want. There is no limitation, because by doing this exercise there is some scientific process behind it, because what you're doing through creative writing is you're creating new paths for your neurons. As Einstein said many years ago, logic takes you from A to B, and we're surrounded with a lot of logical people who are very boring in many ways, because they restrict us, they handcuff us, they imprison us in their logic and rationale. But what Einstein said, powerfully said, should I say, that logic can take you from A to B, whereas your imagination can take you anywhere and everywhere. So think about that, incorporate that, use it into your life. So the last point to come out of this text is where the author says that that free writing, the free writing habit, might just be what you need to finally start a book. So everybody should, in their lifetime, write themselves a book and be an author of their book, and to free yourself up and to keep an archive of your free writing sessions. Wouldn't it be great to look back years later and to see all the things that you've written about, all of your thoughts, all of your fears, and to maybe even write a book to share your thoughts with other people. The author reminds us here that basically what happens is that if you did 3 one-hour writing sessions a week, over a year, you could accumulate over 500 pages of your thoughts, your aspirations, your dreams, and your fears. But the important thing the author says is that you need to write by hand. It needs to be cursive writing, because that is what frees up your mind, frees up your creativity. Once again, very, very powerful to know, and sad to think that a lot of children growing up in today's world won't have these skills, because a lot of their skills, a lot of their writing exercises are done using templates, using computers where they're typing out their ideas. It's not the same. So what I've learned is, I don't know if you can see the notes here. Let me try and get them at an angle. That my handwriting skills have improved immensely through my cursive writing of notes. But what the author says is that by writing notes, you can use a program called Evernote to scan your notes, and it makes your notes searchable. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to scan all of my notes for the 1,000+ book summaries and 5am clubs that I've put together, and then I guess keep them so that I can scan them, so I can search by text, and keep this exercise going. So as the author said, by creative writing, by doing your creative writing skills, you're building some really, really good habits, you're exercising your neurons, and you're teaching yourself how to think and how to think freely, which is a skill that we all need. Our children need it, and we need it, and we continue to need this skill, because as we age, our brain remains and is still plastic. The plasticity of our brains continues. So if you want to battle against dementia and mental illness and all of those challenges that we're all going to face as we get older, the trick is to keep your creative writing skills going, like Hannah did when she was 10 or 11 years of age. We need to continue doing that right up until our later stages in life, when we can still think, when we can still take notes, when we can still reflect and leave a legacy to our children, grandchildren, and to future generations. You don't have to grow old because of your age. You grow old because you give up and you stop doing the things that you did when you were younger, so you can maintain, you can leverage the freshness of your youth by continuing to behave, to think, to hang out, and to live in a youthful manner. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'll just turn the camera around and finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, let's make the most of our lives. Today, even though it's overcast, even though it's going to storm, even though the weather could be considered by many as being miserable, I decided to make the most of the next 2 hours of this day and go for a ferry cruise across to Hawk's Nest. and pump out a few more 5 a.m. clubs, and hopefully see a dolphin or two along the way, and to go on a journey, to continue the journey of life, to not give up just because of an excuse that the weather is not good. I think I just saw a flash of lightning, so hopefully we won't get electrocuted or sunk. This boat here, this ferry, believe it or not, has been around since the 40s and is quite unique and quite authentic. Let me just go for a bit of a walk around here. You can see that it's something which is, as I said, authentic and original in its condition. Even the seats, as you can see, are just leather, so pretty awesome. So thank you very much for joining me, and we'll chat again later. Take care, bye for now, Yassas.